The Ag Tribes Report is brought to you by Legacy Interviews, a video service that captures people as they really are, so the future knows who they really were. Here's Legacy Interviews guests, Daryl and Jill Stamp, on the joy of filming their legacy interview.
What do you think you'll tell your kids about the experience?
Oh, I'm going to thank them a lot. I realize this is more for them and their kids than it is us, the grandkids, who don't know these stories. I can't wait for us all to get together and see it. This went better than I thought it was gonna.
Time does go fast, though.
What time is it?
It's almost 3 o'clock.
No way.
Yes.
God, you talked so much.
Welcome to the Ag Tribes Report, a breakdown of the top stories affecting the culture of agriculture, with your host, Vance Crowe. The report begins in 3, 2, 1. Let's begin.
Welcome to the Ag Tribes Report. I'm your host, Vance Crowe. Each week, I bring on a new guest co-host to represent the perspectives of one of the many ag tribes that collectively make up U.S. and Canadian agriculture. This week, it feels like ag and everyone else in the entire world is holding their breath to find out what the new Trump administration is going to bring on. So to mark this wild times, I have invited on one of the biggest names in all of ag media, Mr. Rob Sharkey. Welcome, Rob.
That's the biggest name. All right. Is that a fat joke or what's going on, man?
No, man, you were on that FarmCon influencer list.
That's
and
right.
I saw you right in the middle. I think that means the biggest. So for those that don't know, Rob is known as the Shark Farmer, and he started out his media career after getting booted out of his elected position with the Illinois Farm Bureau, and it motivated him to start the Shark Farmer podcast, where he has fearlessly tackled some of the most controversial topics in agriculture. I can remember 10 years ago when he was interviewing the dad of a gay son, which was not something that was talked about in agriculture. He was talking to dietitians that were bullied mercilessly, and more than once, Rob stuck his neck out for me when I was working at Monsanto. So I have a special place in my heart for Rob Sharkey. He hosts a daily radio show on Sirius XM Rural Radio and has multiple TV shows on RFD TV and PBS. So, man, you're a busy guy, Rob.
Well, it's good to see you, Vance. It's been a minute.
Yeah, wow. I remember back in the day when you were doing this as just a ramshackle thing, and now you traveling all the time, giving talks all over the country. What are the big things you're being asked to talk about these days?
Generally we get invited to give our keynote, which is kind of our story of a young failed hog farmer that literally stumbled his way to being right here on Vance Crowe Show.
Well, we better head right into it because this show is only 30 minutes long. And on this week, we were going to just talk shit about Sean Haney, but we realized that there's a lot more important stuff happening down here.
Not enough time. 30
in
minutes
America.
Is not enough time. Yeah.
So
I heard he doesn't like Canadians or maple syrup or hockey or poutine.
He was one of the first. He was one of the first guys to throw it out there that he'd be willing to become an American as a part of the 51st state. So I'm excited to see what he says about this.
I thought he was big for saying that out loud. Yeah.
This week, we are going to talk about the January WASDE report, and there's some people out there that think the USDA is using their underreporting as a way to front run some farmers. We can't go a week without talking about where egg prices are going up because they are going up still. Then we're going to do a deep dive into the immigration issue. And finally, we're going to talk about a breaking story with Steak and Shake. And so we better just jump right into it. All right, the first headline, the January WASDE report spins ag and prices up. The World Agriculture Supply and Demand Estimates, otherwise known as the WASDE report, created controversy this week when the report showed a decrease in U.S. corn production from the previous month's estimates. And this meant that they put out a sharp reduction in ending stocks. Similar to corn, soybean production estimates were also lower. And so this caused prices to jump up, which I think was welcome for a lot of farmers. Non-FarmCon certified influencers like Jared McDaniel took to X to say, "I told you so." He was discussing the report, saying that this was their way to get farmers to sell for lower prices, and they told them there was a glut of corn and soy when there really wasn't. So, Rob, you and I are both certified FarmCon influencers. What's your take on the WASDE report? Is the USDA just filled with fools that can't count, or are they doing shenanigans to get the price where they want it?
I mean, this has literally been since I've started farming the question. Are they trying to actually manipulate the markets, or are they just incompetent? I honestly, the older I get, the more I watch this, I think they're more incompetency than trying this grand global scheme. But I've been wrong on a lot of other things. But yeah, I don't see any long-term game that they're trying to play with this. But I don't pay any attention to these. I don't pay any attention to the reports. I don't pay any attention to the marketing people. Back in the day when we were feeding hogs, when I was working for my dad, we were feeding our own corn. So we would sell that corn at 3 p.m. every Friday. You just take how much we fed that week, and that was the price. And then you had what you were selling, like on the open market. You had some that you had in the programs of this, that, and the other. Averaging it out on Friday always did better than anything else. So my farm, it's a little different. My farm is based around the speed of what we can get in the spring and harvest. We want our harvest, and because we have the media side to work on. So I like to have most of my stuff sold before harvest. So I'm not sure I'm the greatest example of someone that's really watching these reports.
Yeah, when you think about these reports and you think like they're not right, are they always like overestimating, or is they sometimes underestimating? Like, where is there any sense or any pattern to this, or are they just always wrong?
The biggest one that really gets people upset is the later summer one, especially if it's like a drought year or any year, because it's going to be a drought or bad or washed out somewhere in the U.S. And they're going to come out saying, actually, we don't see this affecting the overall yield. And man, that's when farmers lose it. Because if you're sitting there and you don't have a yield, you're looking at your crop saying, boy, we're going to be down here. The last thing you want to hear is everybody else is where they should be. So that's when farmers really get riled up.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on these people that are projecting, like, where's corn prices going to be? I mean, everybody likes to sit and listen to the weatherman tell you what the weather's going to be, and the marketing people what the markets are going to be. But the truth is, if you really knew what the weather was be, there are betting markets out there. You just go sit around and make a ton of money telling what the weather's going to be. Same thing with the grain reports. Like, if you actually knew where they were going, you would just sit with your crystal ball and make money.
Mm-hmm. My first year of farming by myself, I went heavy into the professionals. And I won't name the name, even though I should. But he was, trading bushels back and forth, and they were going to sell my bushels 2 to 3 times before, and they were going to get me this price up here. If I was sold directly out of the field that year, I would have been 30 grand ahead. That was my first year farming. And that was a lesson that I've never forgotten. Like I said, I try to level it out, and I try to have most of my stuff. I've got bins, but again, my farm's different. We don't put grain in bins just because we got to deal with the media side. So I'm not a great example, but yeah, I don't listen to them.
All right, moving on to headline 2 from the Michigan Farm News: cage-free eggs, a game of chicken with consumers. A new state law has come into effect that requires all eggs sold in Michigan to be from cage-free hens. This law was passed in 2019 and applies to farms with more than 3,000 egg-laying hens, aiming to improve animal welfare by prohibiting the sale of eggs from hens kept in traditional battery cages. But it isn't just Michigan. Many of the country's most popular brands, Walmart, McDonald's, Kroger, Target, have made the pledge that they are only going to sell cage-free eggs, leading to a majority of the volume of the estimated 57 billion eggs to be produced using cage-free production methods. That's 70% of the U.S. flock. So there's clear frustration about the cost of eggs, with some users mentioning that egg prices have risen dramatically, 11 cents a piece up to 36 cents a piece, and they're all attributing it to the new laws. However, on X, farm chick Jody took to X to say, "I cannot stress this enough. if people would get the whole story, McDonald's, which Michigan egg farms supply, are already requiring them to be cage-free. This wasn't new, and the majority of them are going to, I'm paraphrasing here, when this was passed in 2019, 52% of the eggs were already cage-free. This didn't cause some big ruckus. But when people are facing $5.42 a dozen, they start to get a little pissed off. So, Rob, a lot of these prices are coming from these changes to the market. What do you think? Is this a good thing for ag, a negative thing when people are so upset about how high the price is?
Well, first of all, when you talk about someone from Michigan, you got to put up your, and I think I think she's there somewhere. Regardless, when we do our XM show, my wife gets the guest, and I challenge her to get people that are not like me in agriculture, right? What I think of as a farmer, what I think of, what I grew up thinking. So she gets people that are growing cage-free eggs, and they have the tractors that they move every day. We interviewed a gal out in California that has now 4,000 layers and putting vending machines outside her farm that sells, you can go and buy her eggs right there. She's making a mint. So yeah, as stupid as some of this stuff is, there are going to be people in agriculture that are going to take advantage of this stupidity and make a pretty good living for themselves. I asked Emily before this, like how many layers, that we think the conventional egg laying barn, how many we've actually interviewed. We think somewhere between 50 and 100, right? None of them that we've ever interviewed actually owned the chicken, owned the eggs. They're all just contracting it out. So is this really a farmer problem, or is this the egg company's problem?
That's fascinating, because you're right. When you get into the large scale egg production, most of them, they sell you the chicks, then those chicks produce the eggs, and you're just a part of like housing them, really. And this
Your custom feeder.
Yeah. And so like you're right, these smaller farms, I mean, they're adding something to the market that consumers clearly want. I think there are a lot of consumers that didn't anticipate not only will cage-free prices go up, but if you have something like avian flu knocking out millions upon millions of birds throughout the country, that might take what was a slightly uncomfortable price change and turn it into a really uncomfortable price change.
Yeah, I hope it goes up to $20 a dozen. Let's let everybody have chickens in their backyard back like it wasn't a day. And you talk about something that goes from a hobby to actually a profitable side hustle. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's funny because there are a lot of people that have this aspiration. I can feel it myself to being like, I want to raise chickens, and then before long you're like, and we could make a little money, and now you're running a full scale like egg production, so you're a chicken farmer.
That's crow. Do not don't do it.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about H2A. This week, dairy got front and center again when Dr. Kristen for Wisconsin on X wrote, an estimated 70% of Wisconsin dairy farm workforce are immigrants, and most of them are undocumented. Without them, we don't got milk. The comparison made by some responders to historical arguments for slave labor in the 1850s underscores the debates about labor exploitation and immigration status, drawing parallels to past socioeconomic issues. So then you've got the legal alternatives like the H-2A visa for agricultural workers. And this is the legal path, but I think a lot of people don't understand just how complicated this is. Before applying for an H-2A classification, an employer must first apply and then receive a temporary labor certification where you prove that there are not enough U.S. workers available for a job. Then after you get that certification, you can put it out to authorized workers, but those workers can come only for, I believe it's like 6 to 8 months, and then they have to go back home, and they're not allowed to stay here. They can extend, I think, all the way up to 1 year. And so there's this constant cycle where they're heading back home and then coming here. And this program right now, at any given time, there's only 125,000 people in the U.S. under H-2A when we have 2.6 million workers. So the H-2A system is not set up to be able to handle the enormous amount of work that's out there. And so the gap is getting filled in with illegal immigrants. Where are you at on this? Illegal immigrants, something we got to get rid of, a reality we need to face?
Well, again, I'm not a dairy farmer. I'm not a farmer that uses H2A, but it's like I play one on TV, right? I interview a lot of these people. And the question I always ask them is red tape, is it a pain? And they're 50-50. And what I found out is the people that say it's a real pain aren't the ones that are using a third party to get them through this. So the people that are using a third party to help them through the red tape, they say it's not a pain, but they're also paying more because that person has to get paid as well. The wage is not bad. I used to say, well, if we'd ever pay a full wage, you could get locals to do it. And then you hear, like the $17 to $20 an hour, and they can't get local people to do it. Then it's like, wow, maybe I have changed my opinion on that. Everybody in their mind, they're like, I don't like illegals, but the guys that are doing my roof, or the guys that are cutting my grass, I'm fine with those, you know what I'm saying? But it's the other illegals. There's always this double standard, and I get it. We can't have crooks in here. We can't have people that are just mooching off the system. But, if I don't know the answer, I wish I did. But if you had a system that could reward the people that come here and work hard, work their tail off, make a better life for people like you and I, then, man, I would love to have them in this country.
Yeah, just this week I was up in northern Wisconsin where there were a bunch of dairy farmers. This issue was being talked about, and I brought it up with a couple of people, and their sense was like, yes, there are illegals, and yes, ICE does occasionally show up at a dairy farm with their guns and pull people out of there. But when Trump is talking about who are we going to get rid of illegals, it is not the people that are showing up to work every day, that are, contributing to society, that are funding a family. It's going to be first the people living in apartments in, Denver, Colorado, and taking them over, it's going to be those people. And that a lot of this talk right now is a way to get people that don't want to have ICE removing large amounts of illegal immigrants to wrap ag in. Do you think that's true, or do you think that really ag might be under the gun under the Trump administration trying to get rid of illegals?
I hope it's true. The man's very smart. He seems like he is making an effort to put very smart people in there, but his beautiful wall and all this stuff, he's buying Greenland and that. You kind of wonder, is he just negotiating, or man, is there a screw loose in there or something? I have faith in him. I have faith that yes, when he's talking about this mass deportation, it's going to go after the people that should not be in this country, and that yes, I believe him and his administration will be working towards bringing people into this country that will benefit us. I hope.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that the first people they're going to go after, and it'll take years to get the people out that are both illegal and criminals and people that we don't want in here. And only then will you start raiding, I just cannot imagine they're going to raid meat packing facilities and dairies, but
they won't. You want to know why? COVID. They didn't shut those down. And if there's any place that probably should have been shut down, it was a meat packing plants. The government knows the importance of keeping those running. So yeah, ICE isn't going to be showing up there first.
I tend to agree with you. All right, on to the final headline. And normally I do not take things off of the PR wire, but this was hot off the presses. Steak and Shake makes a huge announcement for ag, announcing that their fries will be made in beef tallow. Steak and Shake announced today they are moving forward with 100% all natural beef tallow in their restaurants, which is a staple for their shoestring French fries. I could go on and read all this stuff about their chief development guy and the quotes and everything, but this is what everybody has been pounding their fist on the table trying to get McDonald's and these other groups to do, fry their French fries in beef tallow. Does this mean that you are going to stop in at Steak and Shake and eat some French fries in the near future?
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't tell you last time I was ever there, but I'll use your other example. McDonald's at one time had perfected, like when the good Lord looked down at their French fries, the angels would sing. They had perfected it and then got pushed out of it. And I think the documentary Super Size Me had a lot to do with it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of this is the RFK factor or if it's like, hey, this actually tastes better factor. I hope it's driven by taste, and I hope there's no pushback from it.
Yeah, I think that Steak and Shake is brilliant for doing this. It's the first mover advantage. When you're the fifth or sixth restaurant that's doing it, nobody's going to remember. But I think there are a lot of people, myself included, I'd probably be like, all right, maybe I'll stop in and try that out. Like, it feels like it's a nostalgic thing, like a thing you just can't get anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they got good shakes, don't they? That's what I remember.
Oh man, what I always like with their Chili Mac Supreme, big old pile of pasta with chili, and then their secret sauce was actually just ketchup.
You keep that St. Louis crap down there. I don't want that. No.
All right, that is going to do it for our news headlines this week. If you have shows that you or news that you think we should be covering, you can send it to me on X at Vance Crow or email me, vance@legacyinterviews.com. Now on to the Bitcoin land price report. This is brought to you by River.com, an exchange you can use to buy Bitcoin. I don't have a formal relationship with River, but it is where I personally buy Bitcoin. And if you sign up using the link in the show notes, you will help support the show. You'll get Bitcoin for it, and so will we. You can, we'll talk about that a little bit more because I think that we are in for a wild ride in the next few weeks about Bitcoin. Last week, Bitcoin was 92,000, and as of showtime today, we are sitting right at $100,000 per Bitcoin, which is up 8% from last week. So, Rob, I always like asking, what county do you live in, and how much does an acre of land cost there?
I live in Bureau County, right on the edge of Bureau and Stark in Illinois, and I'd say good prime farm ground, 17-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah.
All right, so it turns out that 1 acre of ground would cost you 0.17 Bitcoin. This is absolutely fascinating to me.
Are you kidding me? That's what I know nothing about it. That's the conversion.
Yeah. So I mean, at $100,000 a Bitcoin, it only cost you 0.17 Bitcoin to get an acre of land there.
Oh, what a bargain!
I mean, good high quality farm ground there. When you go out, do you hear farmers right now talking about Bitcoin?
No, I don't. And honestly, my son is into that and the other stuff, and I know he messes around with a little bit, but I don't, and I really don't run in those. I don't run in those tribes, Vance.
Well, this week I was out talking about Bitcoin, and I stirred up the hornet's nest in ag because I keep saying I think that it has a chance to take a bunch of the investor money that keeps inflating the price of land and pull that money into Bitcoin and out of land prices. So but man, I said this and people got mad. They got all sorts of upset.
Man, keep that Bitcoin away from my ground.
So the other thing that I was saying is that, one of the problems of trying to get people to stay on your operation is ownership, and you often can't give them acres of land. So I was proposing that you could start accumulating Bitcoin as a way to give them digital property. And of course, ag did not like this, but I think it's
out loud.
What's that?
You said that out loud?
Well, I typed it into X.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a way to do it. I think that one day loans will be collateralized using Bitcoin because I think banks are going to prefer it from having you to collateralize, that barn that they can't, they got to go to work to sell if they want to get their money back. So I think there's a high possibility that Bitcoin is going to play a role in lending, not only in bringing land prices down, but in giving you another way to collateralize your loans.
I will not argue with you. I have zero clue. I know nothing about it.
Well, we will move on there, but one last word, river.com is, I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes, and it has been fascinating to watch how many people have signed up. Just last week, we had 6 people sign up and start buying Bitcoin, so there is a lot of pin-up demand in the Ag Tribes listeners, so go sign up there. It helps the show, and it'll give you a way to buy some Bitcoin. Now on to the Peter Thiel paradox. This is where I'm going to ask Rob, what is one thing that you believe that almost nobody in your ag tribe agrees with you on?
That a 30-minute radio show takes more than 30 minutes to do.
Tell me more.
Everybody thinks that's just, you're on the radio for a half hour a day. I mean, anybody can do that. Well, no, there's a ton behind it. So it's a several hour process. between all the setup, everything my wife is doing. So yeah, I honestly, I couldn't think of much else. So I said that.
Do you think of it as hard work relative to other work you've done in your life?
I don't like hard work. I don't know if I've ever. No, it's not. And the actual show itself, it's fun. It's all the stuff before and after it that's monotonous.
Well, I'm going to burn you to the ground on this one. You're getting a 1 on your Peter Thiel paradox because I think everybody knows that you work harder than 30 minutes. So you did not convince anyone on your.
I was unaware this was a competition. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've had everything on this from I don't think people landed on the moon to oh gosh, who knows what Sean Haney said was. Oh, I think actually that was where Sean Haney actually said that there's talk about becoming the 51st state, or that I think his actual thing was that he didn't think Canada would stay together as a whole forever.
His mom doesn't like me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Carl's mom does, but Sean Haney's no.
All right, now on to the Worthy Adversary section. This is where I ask Rob a way to get out of our our echo chambers on X, and that's when I find out who is one person that you respect, but you really disagree with there on social media.
Hey, am I going to get scored on this one too, Crow?
No, this one's got no score.
Okay. This was tough. It kind of makes me show that maybe I don't get outside my bubble as much as I should. But I did a podcast with EBT, Elizabeth Burns Thompson from up there in Iowa. It was about the pipelines, and I adamantly disagreed with her. But man, she is so smart, and the way she proposed her argument, it ticked me off because I'm like, hey, you have a point, and I didn't want her to have a point.
Yeah, she's one of those incredible attorneys that is able to keep like a calm demeanor, and she's smiling the whole time when you're disagreeing with her. She reminds me of like some of Trump's appointments to like the press secretaries and stuff, where you're like, I really would rather you be on my side and not on the other side when we're arguing here.
That's right.
I think that is an excellent Worthy Adversary. I'm not going to give you a score, but I will say it did redeem you a little bit from your Peter Thiel paradox.
Well, thanks, Vance. I appreciate that.
All right, if you want to see a full list of Worthy Adversaries, there's also going to be a link in the show notes. You can find out all the people that guests have said, hey, I respect, but I don't agree with them. And it's quite an eclectic list. I probably look at that as much or more than almost anything else on X. So, Rob, we're going to round it out and say thank you for you coming on. But first, before we do that, where can people find your show, and what do you have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Our main page is sharkfarmer.com. And gosh, next week we're in Arkansas, and then Minnesota, and then I don't know. Ask Emily. Go to sharkfarmer.com. That's where you'll see our podcast, our shows. Season 10 of Shark Farmer TV just launched this Tuesday, so we're into a new cycle there. So we're very happy.
Wait, say more about that.
It's the 10th season. Season is 13 shows, so we're 13 on, 13 off, where they run reruns. And I can't believe we went to, when we left after doing the first season, we were driving out of Nashville, and Emily and I are like, well, that was fun. Something people can't say they've really had a chance to do. We'll never do it again. And now we're on season 10.
Well, I have gotten to watch you from early days, and I have to say, Rob, you are one of the people in this world that I admire the most. You have stood up for me at times that were very difficult, and I have watched you transform our agriculture because of your willingness to do things that other people weren't doing. Now it seems obvious that people have ag podcasts and they talk about controversial things, but you did it when it wasn't obvious and it wasn't safe. So I am so glad to see you be successful here, man.
Well, thank you. And there's people should go listen to the other. There's a lot of good ones out there now. Fantastic ones.
So don't forget, if you have been thinking about buying Bitcoin, use the affiliate link down below. And also, if you've been thinking about doing a legacy interview for one of your loved ones where we sit down to record them talking about their life experiences, the things that happened to them, the stories that need to get passed down to future generations, go to legacyinterviews.com or just give me a call directly, 314-866-2991. All right, join us next week for another Ag Tribe Report with guest co-host a fellow FarmCon accredited influencer, Gavin Spoor. So he's going to be on there, and I'm glad he'll be there. Rob, thanks so much.
Popcorn guy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
He's worth listening to. He's not right in the head, but you'll have a lot of fun with him.
Well, we're looking forward to it next week. And as always, feel free to disagree.